In example 7, we're able to skip over one step because our first entry in row 3 was already a 0, so we had a little bit less work to do. That's not going to be the case with this system of equations, but we do want to see or look at how we can accelerate this process of solving systems using matrices. And I'm actually copying down the wrong set of values here, so let me start over. In this case, row 1, column 1 is already a 1. So as in our previous examples, that step's already taken care of for us. What we want to do differently now is go ahead and update all of the values below it to become 0 in one step. In order to do that, we're going to update row 2 by taking -3 times row 1 plus all of our values in row 2. And in row 3, we're going to take -1 times row 1, or the opposite of all of our values in row 1, plus all of our values in row 3. We don't have to take these two steps at the same time, and if you find that this is perhaps a little confusing, or if it leads to you making some mistakes, it's a good idea to wait a while and break these sorts of things into two different steps as just a way to help avoid some simple mistakes or get a little bit more comfortable with this process. But to demonstrate the idea here, we know that this is going to go ahead and zero out our first two values in rows 2 and 3. And our remaining values in row 2 will become -7, 5, and -19. And in row 3, we'll end up with 2, -1, and 5. So in one step, or in one rewrite of our matrix, we were able to completely update 2 rows and really get 3 steps taken care of, since that first step of turning row 1, column 1 into a 1 was already taken care of. Now what we'll do is look at updating row 2, column 2 to become a 1. In order to do that, we'll take row 2 times -1/7, or I'm sorry, take -1/7 times all of our values in row 2. That 0 will remain unchanged, but our remaining values will become 1, -5/7, and +19/7. Then all values in row 3 will remain completely unchanged. Once we have that step taken care of, we can look at zeroing out all values below that 1 we just created. In order to do that, we'll update row 3 by taking -2 times our values in row 2 and adding those results to our values in row 3. So that first 0 will remain unchanged. Our second value in row 3 will become a 0. And then those remaining values will become 3/7 and -3/7. So now to convert that value in row 3, column 3 into a 1, we'll take all of our values in row 3 and update them by multiplying them by 7/3. Which will update row 3 to be 1 and then -1. So looking at our system of equations, we can start with row 3, which will tell us that z is equal to -1. Equation 2 will tell us that y minus 5/7 times -1 has to equal 19/7. Solving for y will give us 2. And then equation 1 tells us that x plus 2 minus -1 equals 5. Solving for x will give us x equals 2. So our solution is the ordered triple 2, 2, -1.